Please feel free during the meeting if you have questions or things that you want to make sure either Vic or I can help address. You can go ahead and take yourself off mute at any time, or you can drop your question in the chat as well, and we will address it. And then we'll have some time afterward as well, just for conversation and to talk about any questions that you might have.
Okay, this month and next month are devoted to summer programs. This month is planning for your summer program, and next month we actually will cover some lessons that you can use in the summer. And we've got just a ton of resources that you can use in your programs, and they should be very beneficial for having a very successful summer program. So without further ado, we'll get started, and I'll share my screen with you. There we go. So this gives us a little opportunity to reimagine summer programming after the pandemic, because we're still dealing with kids that have achievement gaps. And we're going to need a little extra time to address the learning loss. But if we design a program that's engaging and fun for children, we're going to have a greater success than if we just did one that is simply hours using the traditional classroom settings. And, you know, there's some research on there. There's a lot of research in this. And after the meeting, Heidi will make sure it gets posted on the website so that you can download it and click on all of these links.
He said he was gonna come in at 10.
Yeah, somebody please mute yourself here. There we go. All right. So it's going to take us time to get back to normal. We're moving in that direction. That little by little, we're going to be getting things back the way they were pre-pandemic. In fact, I was just looking at in our meeting earlier today, looking at some longitudinal reading data with the Iowa After School Alliance. And, you know, you can see that before the pandemic, we had a very high rate of student progress with reading, and it went down about 50% because we're dealing with the at-risk children, and they're the most vulnerable when something like this happens. So keep in mind, not only were they not in school, a lot of the little ones have had stress. You know, this has never happened before. So we want to create an exceptionally enjoyable program this summer, and we can go a long way in relieving fears, anxiety, and helping the children reduce the achievement gaps. So try to make your program something that's going to be in the best interests of the children rather than just replicating what we've always done in the summer. Here's some tips for providing social emotional support for the kids. Music. Music can calm emotions. And there's some research from the University of Nebraska that provides strategies for creating a relaxing classroom. And this could apply to any room to make it relaxing. The second one, sunshine. Sunshine is critical for kids to absorb vitamin D, and that's essential for good eye development. And there's some research that they're concerned that the pandemic has had negative effects on children's eyesight. So, you know, that's something we should consider. Talk to kids, listen to their concerns. Your Life Iowa has resources to help you connect with the kids. It's amazing how much negativity and crises can be prevented by simply having ongoing dialogue. And that's one of the reasons when I talk to kids and families, what I hear is they really like the after school program because the folks in the after school program talk to them and they feel like they're more connected. Lastly, joy in learning. Make the programs fun. The best research we have for early childhood learning, that's their slogan, let there be joy in learning. Bring in some ice cream if it's in the summer. That can be part of their snack. You can invite local musicians, clowns, or other partners who can help make the program enjoyable for kids. Contact the local animal shelter and they can bring in some animals for the kids to interact with. So let's go in a little more detail. Why go outside? Here's 5 ways the sun impacts your mental and physical health. And this is some research from Tri-City Med. Sunshine can improve cognitive function. And there's also evidence that suggests kids who spend more time outdoors exposed to daylight will reduce their risk of developing nearsightedness. Now, keep in mind, this is not medical advice. We're just using the latest research to create a potentially beneficial learning environment for the kids, like providing heat in a classroom during winter months. We started out with the potbelly stove and eventually, we put in central heating. Now, a lot of the schools are putting in air conditioning for the same reasons. In fact, if you have fluorescent lights, you can, at very little cost, I think it's $1 more a bulb, you can get a full spectrum fluorescent tube, and it can provide a lot of the same spectrum of light that they would get, from being outside. And there's been studies, of the children improving their behavior just by changing those light bulbs. So there's a lot to, making sure we have a good learning environment. Okay, let's go outside. How about reading outside? You don't always have to be indoors. One of the things that an after-school program kids really like is when you read to them. You can also have the kids share books and take them outside to read. In a book, the child may encounter a river in the book, but they may not fully understand a river if they've never seen it, unless you maybe take them by a stream. And there's research on the joy of reading outside. Here's a list of 19 books that are specifically made to be read outside. And then even taking the snack outside for them. It lowers the risk of any kind of virus transmission and, gives the kids a little more sunlight. Here's a big list of outdoor activities that you can take advantage of. Here's the very top one is 60 outdoor activities. Now, that's 2 months if you do one a day of different activities. In addition to that, how about a summer garden? Teach these children how to grow some food. And it doesn't have to be, that you have every kind of food available on the planet. Just something simple. Go to the park. There's 17 activities on that list that you can use taking the kids to the park. And that's a nice summer field trip. Go to the zoo. There's a list of 7 activities for going to the zoo that will help engage the kids. How about going to the swimming pool? And there's 5 pool games that you can use. Going outside, you can see a lot of different animals, birds, insects. You can take pictures, you can make a list, and you can then go online with the kids and learn more about them. You know, did they migrate? Where did they stay over the winter? How long did they live? Did they help to plants to grow? Did they, bring seeds from one place to another? What do they eat? How long do they live? How many babies do they have? Things like that that gets the kids interested. And of course, field trips. This grant is unique because we actually encourage you to do field trips. And summer is a great time to do field trips. First off, you don't have to worry about snow, ice. It's usually when school's out of session, you have access maybe to use the bus and, contract with a bus driver. We even have a guide for field trips. Here's even more summer resources to help you with your planning. Edutopia has a bunch. Here's 200 free kids educational resources. Summer learning in English and Spanish. And, that's an excellent resource if you have a lot of kids that are bilingual. And there's another resource with bilingual summer resources. And just a little story. My first my second summer school experience, I was doing the summer migrant program, and no one told me that most of the kids spoke Spanish. So when I got there and I'm speaking English and a lot of them didn't understand, I had to change things a bit. So I recruited a student in every one of the sessions who could speak both English and Spanish, made him my assistant. And when I said something in English, they repeated it in Spanish for the other kids. So we got over the language barriers. Very simple. I didn't have to put out an ad for an interpreter. Just there's a lot of things you can do to communicate with kids. You just gotta think outside the box sometimes. Okay, music for learning videos. That's a nice YouTube channel you can visit. And 9 activities for ELL students. So there's just a ton of resources in this presentation that you can take advantage of. Now, some of them you may not like, that's okay, but I'm sure you're going to find enough to give you plenty of things to do. And keep in mind, this is just part 1. Next month, we'll have one that includes some complete lessons. So the choice is yours. How are you going to plan your summer? Are they going to stay inside or are they going to go outside? Look at the difference in the faces of the kids on this one, especially since some of our buildings don't have air conditioning. It gets rather warm. And kids, they just love playing outside. Okay, anybody have any questions? Oh, and by the way, that phone number there, that's my cell phone. And a lot of times I will ask you for your cell phone as well, just so that we can keep our communication open. Well, that didn't take me long, did it? I think it took me longer to put it together than it did to talk about it. I suppose we could have explored some of those links on there, but I'll let you guys do that on your own. A lot of the most difficult thing when you're running a new program is, where do I get these resources? So this way it's all organized for you. And I think that helps out a lot.
Yeah, it does help a lot. And we've made sure that all of those links work. So you don't have to worry about that either. They'll take you right where you need to go.
And summer is a great time to make progress with the kids. We're not bound anymore by proficiency. We're not having to do No Child Left Behind where they put an impossible goal of 100% of the kids will become proficient. I mean, realistically, sometimes the kids don't come into school enough that they're going to be proficient. But when they're there, we do as much as we can to help them to improve. And when you have things that are fun, the kids, their attendance is going to go up because they're having a good time. Has anybody already been part of a summer program? And okay, this is going to be the first time, huh?
Yes,
Well,
so I'm kind of looking forward to our meeting because since we're talking about summer and this is our expansion, I think it goes hand in hand today with the meeting now and then our meeting later, Vic. So I think it'll work out great.
Wonderful. Another thing too is summer school, summer programs are huge with bridging those achievement gaps. I've worked with at-risk kids over the summer and got all of those kids up to their grade level in reading. And they took the kids that, were behavior problems and gave them all to me. But we had a good time and we got on track with the reading. And I did some unusual, things with the instruction that got them interested in reading, and we made the progress. But talk to your kids, find out what their interests are. We all have access to, in these buildings, to libraries, and there's just a wealth of books that are there for them. If you have some extra money, you can purchase books and give it to the kids over the summer to encourage them to read after the program is out or on the weekends. That's a serious concern of mine, is that kids reading for pleasure, those numbers are in decline. And we need to get kids reading more for pleasure so that they become comfortable. We don't want to have kids that, they only read when they're forced to read, because reading is a part of life. You need it for every single job that they might have. So you could have, a book author come and visit. And we've got, if you go to the state library, they have a database of all the Iowa authors, and you can look on there and see which are the ones that will come out and visit the kids. So does anyone have any questions for me about summer programs? I mean, we had scheduled an hour, but sometimes the meetings don't need to take an hour. Okay, well, let's stop the recording.